So are you ready for episode 2, Mum?
Yes.
So what's our number 1 rule?
There are no silly questions.
Yep. All right, let's get started. Artificial intelligence. What do you know about it?
Think of it as like a little computer,
Mm-hmm.
and information is loaded up to it. So you can input information into it and it will store it and give it to you as needed.
That's a pretty good answer. So it's really good.
And realising I am using AI without realising it, as in I can ask Siri on my phone, hey Siri, and give Siri a question, and it will answer it. This is part of AI, which
it is.
I wasn't aware I was using it.
Yeah. Yeah. So today we're going to talk about what type of AI that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But before we get there, I thought we could go through the history of AI. You've given a pretty good definition of what AI is. So it's teaching machines to do things that humans can do. So things like learning, reasoning, and problem solving by using algorithms. So have you heard of an algorithm before?
It's like a formula.
Yeah, that's pretty good. You're giving the computer rules on what to do and how to do certain things.
Yeah.
So something you might not know about AI, the term was created in 1955 by
that long ago.
Yeah, by John McCarthy. And then it's continued to evolve ever since. So what's your first question?
First question I thought was, what is AI? And probably adding on to that, from what I've seen on social media and what I'm hearing, is there's different levels of AI.
So this is going to be a very broad explanation, and we're not going to go into the detail because it is very complicated, but I don't want to overwhelm you. So we're going to start just high level. We're not going to discuss everything. There's a lot more that goes into it. But if we're looking at the different levels, there's really 2 levels of AI. So there's what's known as weak AI and then strong AI. What do you think weak AI would be? It's kind of a tricky question.
I was going to say, would speaking to Siri on my phone be a weak AI?
Yeah. So what would be a strong AI then? And this isn't a fair question to ask you. I shouldn't ask you this. But what do you think strong AI is?
I'm thinking something more complicated. Like, I'm thinking like a smart car can park itself without you even using a steering wheel. Would that be more a strong AI?
That would be weak AI.
Oh, weak AI. Okay. So something that's more complicated.
Strong AI is currently theoretical, so it doesn't actually exist yet, which is why it wasn't a fair question for me to ask you. So when we're talking about strong AI, you know those movies where the robots take over and destroy the world?
Yes.
Yeah, so the most recent one was Megan. We don't have it yet, but it's when the machines will develop their own consciousness and decision-making that's on par or better than humans. And that's the AI that we need to worry about because we can't control it anymore.
So there's obviously people, like for a movie to be out like that, there's people working on strong AI now.
Yep. They've been working on strong AI for a long time, but at the moment there's no practical implications for it.
So now I know there's no silly question, but if AI started back in 1955, even before I was born, basically how would that have been used in say, the early 60s? What form of AI?
That's not a silly question, and that actually leads us to our next part of the different types of AI.
All right.
So just quickly, though, before we move on to that, weak AI is what we currently have. So it's where it's built for a specific purpose rather than the full cognitive ability of humans. If we have a look at the terms of AI, so artificial intelligence is the broad term. So that encompasses everything, and that's what we've had since 1955. So one of the first examples where they used artificial intelligence was to create a program to play checkers and chess. That was how it was first used, and then obviously it's continued to evolve. So what's that next layer of AI that we've got on that diagram?
Machine learning.
Essentially, a human is involved in machine learning. So a human is giving the AI the information and then telling it what's right and wrong. So another example is email spam filters. So you know how all of your spam automatically goes into a spam folder?
Yes,
That's because of machine learning.
All right. It knows from previous emails to you, me, or whoever that it's spam.
Yeah. What's the third type you can see in that circle?
Deep learning.
So this is a subset again of machine learning.
A technique to perform machine learning inspired by our brain's own network of neurons.
So some examples, you've already mentioned quite a few examples of deep learning. What do you think those examples are?
Driving an e-car.
An autonomous car or driverless car.
Yes.
Yeah, that could be an example. Yep. What else? Think even more basic than that. Things like personalized shopping and entertainment. So you know when you go on Facebook and you have the personalized ads, or Instagram, or if you go on Netflix and it says you might like this show because you watch this one.
Yes.
That's deep learning. It's taking things that you might like and then it's showing you other things you might like. And so what deep learning does is it gets a data set of information and then it continues to learn and build on that information every time you interact with it. So that's broadly the different types of AI that exist. So can you remember all of that?
Yes, weak and strong.
Yeah. And then you've got AI as the broad term, and that encompasses things like machine learning and then deep learning. So there's a lot of researchers in the space that prefer to use the term machine learning because that's actually what we're talking about right now. What's your next question?
So how does AI learn, which I think you've sort of explained that a little bit by following our patterns.
We've spoken about it briefly, we've touched on it, but there's 3 different types of algorithm that help AI learn. So there's unsupervised learning. So this is when the machine is provided with input data and it identifies the commonalities to group the data. So things like you bought this book, so you might like this book. Unsupervised learning can get quite dangerous in particular contexts because it might take features of the data set and give them more value than they actually have. So in one example, they were looking at hiring. The way that AI is currently being used in recruitment is people are using AI to help identify the suitable candidates that will move on to interview. So if 50 people apply for a job, AI might eliminate 20 or 30 of them based on whatever inputs have been provided.
As in, I want someone that's got experience in this, this, and this, great customer service. If they're not putting any of those words that you're sort of looking for, AI, the process you're going through, it will take away those people.
Yes, but the problem with that is that if English is your second language, if you have been out of the workforce for a long time, if the terminology you use is different to what the job uses, but you're describing the exact same thing, you may be the best candidate for the job, but you're not even going to get in front of a person because AI has already eliminated you. So that's unsupervised learning. Supervised learning is when you have the input and the output data, and it's used to create an algorithm to help predict a predetermined outcome. So this is our example of this is a cat, this is a dog. So you're putting in all of the data and then you're telling the AI what the right and wrong answer is. If we look at the third way that AI learns, that's called reinforcement learning. So this is where you provide an input and an output, but you don't tell the AI how they're connected. And then there are rewards and punishments that are used to train the algorithm. So an example.
So what's an
Playing chess is an easy example of this one. So you tell the AI that you're playing chess and the objective is to get my king. That's the objective of the game. But you don't teach AI the rules of chess. So then every time it makes a mistake, it gets in trouble or it loses the game. And then what it does is it says, okay, I did this last time and then I lost. So I'm going to do this thing instead and see if that works.
So the AI will remember what it did last time. And with what we're talking about today, AI, it's all free at this level. When do you start paying for AI?
Not necessarily.
That's probably another.
So there are obviously free examples of AI. So depending on what your definition of free is, you have Siri on your phone, which is AI. And then if we're looking at things like ChatGPT, those things, there are some free versions, but then there are also paid versions as well. So that's what we're seeing at the moment. There's a lot of really cool technology that's being created because of where we are technologically.
And so I'm just blown away that AI really started back in 1955, but in a very different form to what it is now. But when did it start to really gear up to, like now, every day you hear something about AI, every day. So 20 years ago, we didn't.
That's only recent. So at the moment, AI is the topic of 2023. It's possible that some of the things we talk about have changed.
Have changed.
Yeah. So it's evolving very quickly. And that's part of the problem, is that it's going so quickly that we may lose control of it if it keeps going this way.
Because it's changing so rapidly, is it dangerous?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. And there are a lot of concerns, which we've kind of touched on already. At the moment, we're in a position where we are the ones who are in control. But if we keep going the way we're going, there is the potential that we might lose control of AI. And so you may have seen an open letter to halt AI development for 6 months. Have you seen that?
No.
I'll add a link in the description. But that letter was signed by everybody in the tech industry. And so a lot of really big names who understand the impact of AI and what we're doing with it, they want to stop all AI development for 6 months so that we can come up with a global approach for how we move forward with AI, so that we can try and prevent things like Megan from happening.
Yeah. But wouldn't there be some people in the world that like it being more dangerous?
There's actually some really great examples of this. Have you heard of Tay, the Twitter chatbot?
No.
So I'll send you a video later and I'll link it as well. But Tay was a chatbot that Microsoft put on Twitter. And so it was a really sweet, wholesome thing. They wanted to showcase what they were doing with chatbots. Within 24 hours, she was a Nazi.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So she was sharing hate speech.
Is that because of comments people were putting on Twitter in relation to it?
Yeah. So the intention was that people could talk to Tay and then she would reply. And then the more people talked to her and engaged with her, the more she would learn. As we were talking about before, how AI learns. And then she would be able to say more things and interact with more people. And it started off really sweet. Her first tweet was about how happy she was to be on Twitter and how excited she was to get out in the world. And then that very quickly started to spiral because people who knew that they could manipulate it, they started doing just that. So they started sharing hate speech, and then Tay started sharing that hate speech, not realizing what she was doing.
Yeah.
And when I use the word she, it's not a she. They just portrayed her as a she. I watched a really interesting talk, which I'll link in the description, from a woman named Janelle Shane. And she said that what we need to be asking ourselves now is, how do we set up AI so it solves the problem we actually want? Because if we don't ask that question as we're developing it, we are going to end up with all of these problems that it's going to be too late for us to fix.
Yeah. So it's being able to control it as it grows.
But then there's also other issues. So we kind of touched on it before, things like discrimination. So if the people who are coding the algorithms are all white men in their 20s, then the AI is going to also be a white man in his 20s.
Yeah.
And so it's really important to ensure that we have diversity within the coders who are creating these algorithms, because at the end of the day, it is going to shape the future. And we want the future to be as inclusive as possible. And the only way that we do that is by building algorithms, so building AI that is inclusive.
With what you know with AI, is there a certain age group that have accepted this more readily than other age groups?
I think it's an interesting question because I would love to say that younger people have, but the conversation that I'm having with you and the conversations that we have, I'm also having with young people. So there are some people who, we've spoken about it before, early adopters, who are all over it. So it is still very early. I think this is the first time in history when we're actually aware of the concept of AI. And so we are actually learning that we've been using AI for decades. We've just never been told that what we're doing is AI. Now is the first point in history where it is mainstream enough that everyday people are starting to hear about it and understand the implications of it. Do you have any other questions?
One more question was, could you plant a human consciousness into AI?
Based on what we've discussed, what type of AI do you think that is? Can you remember we were talking about
the strong AI?
Yeah. However, there are some examples of people trying. So there is a company that back in 2015, they announced that they wanted to transfer human consciousness into an artificial body to live forever.
Oh.
But I haven't seen any recent announcements. There's a really great example, the Wall Street Journal journalist Joanna Stern. She replaced herself with AI in meetings for an entire day.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There are companies that help you create an AI version of yourself. So I'll include the link to that video as well so you can watch that.
Oh, wow.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be able to implant your human consciousness into AI yet, but it might be something in the future that you can do.
Yeah. Yeah, which is, I think, is a little bit scary.
Yeah, but I think we're still a very long way off doing that, though.
Yeah.
You know what question's coming now? In one sentence, how do you describe artificial intelligence?
Well, to me, what I have learnt with this discussion is AI is technology focusing on creating, performing tasks, making decisions more human-like.
That's great. Good job, Mum. That's really good.
Which I think is a bit scary. I'm not... Yeah, I'm sort of, feeling a little bit nervous about AI, the damage that it can do.
But that's okay. And I think the really important thing with AI at the moment is that we do understand the danger and that we understand how it works. So then we understand what it actually means when we use it in our day-to-day lives. Yeah. Good job, Mum.
Okay, thank you.
Did a great job. I was a little nervous about this one.
Were you?
Yeah. I had to do a lot of research for this. What's our next episode, Mum?
I believe we're going to be talking about ChatGPT.
We are.
Which I'm really interested in learning more about that.
And what is ChatGPT a subset of?
AI.
Yeah. Yep. So you're going to learn how to use a piece of AI that's taking over the world at the moment. Thanks, Mum.
Thanks, Jess.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.